I said I like to stir the punch bowl with my dong and get everyone on the seat. So pause. I personally believe that Gilbert Arenas is probably the best scoring point guard that we've seen. If it wasn't for him, I don't think we see a lot of today's point guards. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. He said that he's done things first, but today's point guards just did it better. And I would agree with that, but he is the one that did it first. He's the originator. His size for being a point guard, and I think just the way he scored, anyone would consider him probably a shooting guard more than a point guard, but he was listed as a point guard.
Yeah,
I'd say in college he was more of a shooting guard, because he had Jason Gardner as his point at U of A, University of Arizona, and so I think that's where a lot of it he honed most of his guard skills, at least for the wing, is because he was just that's where his main natural position was. But I think as he got to the NBA and he was 6'4", they put him in that position, and he was just bigger than most point guards. He said he was able to bully you on the block. He was able to get past you because he was just so quick on his first step, and he was a great shooter. I mean, he was shooting where they're shooting today, as far as like the logo and like right pass and half court. He was the first to do that.
Right.
Really nobody else doing that besides him. He was just that good of a scorer. And I can't really see anybody else holding up to him today. Defense is a whole nother thing if we're talking that. But no, as a point guard, since he was considered that, and it's in the NBA, like they put it down as him being a point guard, that's who I go with as probably the greatest scoring point guard that we've seen.
Well, and I'm going to pull up some stats because, been getting some feedback. People say we need to fact check ourselves a little bit. We don't want to just throw blind stats out there for people. So Gilbert, at the peak of his offensive prowess from 05 to 07, 3 years, he averaged 25.5, 29, and 28. This dude, he was a bucket. He was a blowtorch.
And let's put this in perspective, because that doesn't seem a lot today in today's era. That was at the top of the league. That's in the top 3 or 4.
Yeah,
people leading the league in scoring. Like I said, they weren't taking as many threes as they are today, and they weren't getting as many fouls called. But Gilbert was up there and getting free throw attempts. So he was attacking the rim. But just to say, even though those averages may seem low today, as we compare it to today's game, that's pretty high. So put Gilbert in today's era, he's not missing a beat.
Yeah.
Opinion.
When he had 28.4 points a game in 06-07, that was third in the league behind Kobe at 31.6 and Carmelo at 28.9. And then LeBron was right behind Gilbert at 27.3. So that's we're talking about all-time greats, and Gilbert is in that he's in that stratosphere for 3 years at the peak of it, before he wanted to play Call of Duty in the locker room with Javaris Crittenton.
So Agent Zero, they called him Glock 9.
Yeah, Hibachi, Agent Zero, if you're watching the pod, we'd like to get you on here because you're very volatile in today's media markets. But he's definitely was in contention with for the best scoring point guard of all time for me. And me as a Tracy McGrady fan, I look at, in these kind of conversations, I look at the peak of what they were capable of and what they were able to do. And I'm not looking necessarily for longevity in this conversation. And so I think just pure pound for pound bucket. I mean, you can't just do it for a one year thing. I mean, he did it for multiple years, and he still averaged, a healthy points per game. The rest of the, he wasn't in the high 20s the rest of his career, but Gilbert was a walking bucket. And he paved the way for a lot of players. And I feel like if he didn't get into those crazy troubles, or if he would have even beaten LeBron in the playoffs and didn't, flub those free throws, him, Caron Butler, and Antoine Jameson Brendan Haywood, that was a hot team. that was a fun Washington Wizards team to watch. So if they could have gotten over the hump a little bit more in the playoffs, he might have even been more of a household name from a basketball standpoint. So Gilbert, I mean, that's my dog. It's funny you bring up real quick about how he wasn't a pure point guard at U of A. And like you said, I think that really did go to help him because he had to work on his isolation skills and his off-ball scoring. But then he naturally moved to point guard in the league, and then, had the keys, to be able to dominate smaller guards, being his size. And he didn't really have a weakness offensively.